Hi, this is Darren from Southpaws. This is usually the part of the show where I ask you to buy some coffee cups from me for the holidays. I'm going to do a little something different this time. I want you to do a personal favor for me. I want you to help a longtime supporter of this show. Paul Simons owns the Big Boy Restaurant located at 4950 Wilson Avenue Southwest in Wyoming. He's been a big supporter of the show for a long time, and now he needs your help. The coronavirus has affected his business horribly, and now with indoor dining closed again, he's not sure he can stay in business. So if you're hungry, call ahead to Big Boy at 616-530-0004. Order a Big Boy sandwich, get yourself a Slim Jim, get an order of fries, get an order of onion rings, get whatever you're hungry for, and help out Paul. It would be a big favor to me. Again, that's the Big Boy at 4950 Wilson Avenue Southwest, Wyoming, Michigan. They're right behind Rivertown Crossings Mall. They're right across the street on Wilson Avenue from Costco. The phone number is 616-530-0004. Make sure you call out there, tell Paul I sent you.
For the hardest hitting show in talk radio, the true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
Welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson. I'm your co-host.
And I'm Katy Steele for Jack Prince.
Well, Katy, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
I survived.
Yeah, we are recording on Black Friday, November 27th, 2020.
And we're not going to order anything from Amazon today or ever.
No. I might hit a restaurant, but that's going to be about it. I do have to get my car washed. That I definitely need to do. I noticed the traffic wasn't too bad coming into Grand Rapids today.
Nope, I think everybody slept in.
Good. Everybody needs to stay home and wear your mask and just avoid people.
Yeah, I felt good seeing the cars parked outside the homes in the residential part of Grand Rapids today, even though they don't know how to park and they left no spaces when they could have.
Yeah.
It's good to know they're all at home.
I was a victim of that. Let me just admit it here right now.
It's, a regular occasion.
Boy, have we got some audio to share with you today. Trump went off unhinged on a couple of reporters on Thursday, on Thanksgiving Day.
Not question his authority.
Happy Thanksgiving to you in the media. Lovely. Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. Plus, we have a double Hammer Time Award this week, and we'll get into those details in just a little bit. Before we get into the meat of the show today, a couple of reminders that you can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio. You can follow us on Tumblr, southpawsradioshow.tumblr.com. You can find us on YouTube by doing a search for Southpaws Radio. And you can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. You can listen to the show anytime you like at Spreaker.com. Do a search for Southpaws there. You can find us at Stitcher.com. Do a search for Southpaws there as well. You can find us at Apple Podcasts by doing a search for Southpaws. Once you found our logo, you found us. Links to our podcast are sent automatically to our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube accounts. You can listen to us on Global Community Radio Channel 1. We're on every Saturday night at 11. And you can listen to us on great Pacifica stations, including KCEI-FM in Taos, New Mexico, and KZGM Kabul, Missouri. Oh, boy. So Donald Trump yesterday had a weird press conference. I don't know if you saw the table he was sitting at. He looked like he was sitting at the kids' table. He just stuck a presidential seal on the front.
That's the thing that I think is great. I was telling you earlier that I feel like he has been completely just canceled by the Republican Party because they kind of see that he's done, right? And unless he can hold on to like the affection of the few million racist people that really mobilized his last campaign, he's done.
Yeah,
he's done. Stick a fork in him.
God, I'd love
preferably in his eye.
I would. I was thinking of Abdullah the Butcher, the old pro wrestler from the 70s and 80s. That was his favorite weapon to use in a match. He'd dig a fork out of his trunks and just jab it in the guy's forehead.
Oh, that's hilarious. I never heard that before.
Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, Donald Trump a little unhinged on Thursday. We've got some audio clips here. This is clip number 1. We'll just do the commentary after we hear the clip. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, if the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden on December 14th, will you concede the election?
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud. So as to whether or not I can get this apparatus moving this quickly, because time isn't on our side. Everything else is on our side. Facts are on our side. This was a massive fraud. This should never take place in this country. We're like a third world country.
Wait a minute. You're the one that made us a third world country there, buddy. Let me just go on record there, for starters. 2, where is the fraud? Where's the proof? We've been asking for proof. Everybody's been asking for proof, and no proof has materialized yet.
I'm just so confused on how, number one, there's all of a sudden now there is all this election fraud and everybody needs to look into it, and it's so important. Like every election I've been alive through, there's been accusations of election fraud, and nobody's ever cared or done anything about it.
And what is this apparatus he's talking about? He mentions apparatus. He needs to get it moving. What does that mean?
He doesn't. Here's the thing.
Is he talking about his attorneys?
I don't know. Yesterday, America was the greatest country on earth. America's so great. We're the best. We're the most powerful. We're the most important. But today it's, we're a third world country.
The same guy that made America great again is now calling it a third world country.
Yeah, it's just so confusing. I don't know who we are anymore.
This all happened under your watch there, orange dictator.
Dictator.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, here's the second clip. The reporter goes into a little bit further questioning of Trump.
Just to be clear, if the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden, will you concede?
Well, if they do, they made a mistake because this election was a fraud. Just so you understand, this election was a fraud. I mean, they have Biden beating Obama on Obama's vote in areas that mattered in terms of the election, in swing states.
Hold on a second. Why is he even mentioning Obama?
I don't know. Obama was not on the ballot.
No.
So how did the election have him beating anything when he was not in the election?
That's what I'm confused about. Is he talking about
polls
versus 08 when Obama ran? Is he talking about 12 when Obama ran for re-election?
And is he talking about the polls being rigged and fraudulent or the elections?
I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
No, he's just trying to throw out all these scary words to tell everybody that, there's no way he could have lost.
Mm-hmm. He's just looking to see what sticks, right? Oh, boy. Let's continue here.
And yet he's losing to Obama all over the place. But he's beating Obama in swing states, which are the states that mattered for purposes of the election. So, no, I can't say that at all. I think it's a possibility. They're trying to, look... Between you people, don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way. All right, I'm going to go with another question. Go ahead.
So if the Electoral College does elect President-elect Joe Biden, are you not going to leave this building?
Just so you, certainly I will. Certainly I will. And you know that. But I think that there will be a lot of things happening between now and the 20th of January. A lot of things. Massive fraud has been found. We're like a third world country.
Once again, that reference to a third world country.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, the only straw he has left to grasp, okay, is the few million racist people that mobilized his campaign. So what he has to do right now is just say enough times, because all you have to do to convince these people of anything is say enough times. So if he says enough times there was fraud and he really won, that's sold. They got it. They believe it. There's no convincing them otherwise.
If you repeat a lie loud enough and often enough, it is accepted as truth.
Well, and especially if you already have a cult-like following that's just hanging to wait for what you're going to say so that they can dive on it. So now he's got all that going on. If he were to inject just a little bit more of that, racism that he usually throws in, like he was doing a month or so ago, after he convinces these people that they've all been screwed, that's our biggest concern right now, I think. I think he understands that he's going to have to leave the White House, that he's not going to win with the Electoral College, but those are the people he's banking on. So talk to your people.
Here's the thing. The reporter asked if he was going to leave the White House. He said, well, of course I am.
Right.
Yeah, well, we don't. He's like, you know that. No, we actually don't know that there, buddy.
I think now we do, though, just from that answer. I think he made it real clear that I got no other choice. They've made it clear, and now I know I've got no other choice.
They made it crystal clear.
It's fun to watch this part, not going to lie.
But what do you think about him going after that reporter? Don't talk to the president of the United States like that.
That is just like, it's like, I don't even know.
I'm a dictator. Don't you dare question what I do and what I say.
It's candy to my soul to watch, especially egotistical men. I'm not gonna lie. This is just I have a thing for watching egotistical men melt down, right? Because that means you got them in the right spot. You found that right perfect spot, and they lose control. And the only thing they care about generally is control. So if you can strip that, it's so affirming. Like,
especially if they can control women.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's very vindicating when you can watch him melt down, because it's just like, not only is he tripping out, don't speak to me like that, don't speak to the president. Guess what? She can do it again, because this is America. The president of the United States should know that's what you get to do here.
Yep, and he continues hammering the massive voter fraud, which is complete, absolute fabrication.
Right. I mean, you can't say there was massive voter fraud here if there wasn't in every other election. I won't believe you.
Yep. Let's go to clip number 3 here. This reporter continues to ask more questions.
Can you remind me?
You know that it's tradition for previous presidents to go to the next president's inauguration. So will you attend?
I don't want to say that yet. I mean, I know the answer. I'll be honest, I know the answer, but I just don't want to say it yet. Look, a thing like this possibly has never happened before, but maybe people just didn't catch it. But we've caught it. We've caught hundreds of thousands of votes. Listen, excuse me. When they don't allow a poll watcher, which is a sacred person in our country, people don't know what a poll watcher is. A poll watcher it's considered sacred in our country. When they throw them out of rooms,
but that's not true. They didn't do
sure
that.
It is. And when they put them in pens, excuse me, no, they didn't. My attorneys did not admit anything.
Wait a minute. When did they put poll watchers in pens? That's what I'd like to know.
I need to stop for a second and read the definition of sacred.
Yes, please.
Because it's said often and people don't understand what it means. But here is the
I was thinking about doing the same thing.
3 different descriptions, and every single one of them specifically mentions God and religion. Sacred is a word that only refers to God and religion. The technical definition, I'm on my iPhone, but it says sacred, connected with God or the gods, or dedicated to a religious purpose, and so deserving veneration. That's one. The second definition is religious rather than secular. And the third is of writing or text embodying the laws or doctrines of a religion. So what he's telling you is that poll workers are godly. They're godly. Geez. Okay? Where do we start with that? Like, didn't we start this country, the United States of America, to separate church from state?
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
And he is naming poll workers as godly beings. Like,
but people don't know who poll workers are.
And they don't. They don't even know
what's sacred.
I know. Well, and oh my gosh. If you're a poll watcher this year and you're not next year, are you sacred next year? I need to understand. Am I going to hell after the cutoff date of poll watching applications? Like,
oh my God. He is so unhinged. That's the only word to use.
I wish it were, but he's unhinged, but he's also diabolical. This is so strategic.
Mm-hmm. Well, Hitler.
Yes.
Crazy as a loon, but...
He learned from Hitler's playbook. This man has been studying him his whole life.
Yeah, this is the guy that had Mein Kampf on the table next to him in bed. Mm-hmm. Literally.
His father was a KKK member.
Oh, I'll be glad when the Trumps are gone from Washington.
I will too, because we can't even talk about the problems until he's gone.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, did you see over the weekend Donald Trump Jr. was diagnosed as positive with the coronavirus?
I think I did see that like a few days ago, yeah. And I didn't even get too excited because I'm just like, I feel like it's already gone through everybody and, you know.
Yeah, it sure feels like it. Oh, my gosh.
Especially in his administration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's our Trump clips for today. Trump just really acting out.
But our theme is, we kind of do have a theme, which seems to be an every show thing now. It's justice
sure
and injustice.
Does. And yeah, there's
two different systems, like our friend Carlin said.
Yep, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Well, then again, but you were talking about sacred and religion. Carlin was also the one that said religion is bullshit.
Oh, absolute bullshit. Yeah.
We might have to play that clip one of these days. I think I've got that in the archives here.
You can't play it enough, honestly.
Yeah. Well, while we were recording it, we have received breaking news. I have this. This is from Al Jazeera. An Iranian scientist that Israel alleged led the Islamic Republic's military nuclear program until its disbanding in the early 2000s was assassinated on Friday, according to Iranian state television. Israel declined to immediately comment on the killing of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu once called out in a news conference saying, quote, "Remember that name," end of quote. Israel has long been suspected of carrying out a series of targeted killings of Iranian nuclear scientists nearly a decade ago. The semi-official Fars news agency, believed to be close to the country's Revolutionary Guard, said the attack happened in Absard, a small city just east of the capital of Tehran. They said that witnesses heard the sound of an explosion and then machine gun fire. The attack targeted a car that the scientist was in. Again, that is according to Fars news agency. So this is breaking news as it's happening as we're recording the show. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. I wonder if this was all Israel or if Trump might have had a hand in this, because Trump's been saber-rattling against Iran lately.
Well, it looks like Ali Al-Ruzi tweeted this morning saying Iranian media reporting that high-level nuclear scientist Mohsen, I'm going to let Darren pronounce that, has been assassinated, widely referred to as Iran's Robert Oppenheimer. He is by far the most important Iranian nuclear scientist to be assassinated to date. And Netanyahu had mentioned him by name.
And let me just, the Robert Oppenheimer reference should be very significant. Oppenheimer is pretty much considered the father of the atomic bomb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
this is scary.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, we will continue updating this story as we get details. So make sure you check out our Facebook page for information on that. Let's go back to our talk about the two different justice systems in this country.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well get to this story. This is Caitlin Palance, Caitlin Collins, and Megan Vasquez writing for CNN, dated November 25th. Donald Trump announced in a tweet Wednesday that he has granted his first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, a full pardon, wiping away the guilty plea of the intelligence official, lobbyist, and conservative fringe darling for lying to the FBI. This is a guy that pleaded guilty not once, but twice to lying to the FBI. So he gets a pardon.
Yeah, a pardon. And this is a traitor. He is a traitor to the United States of America. Mm-hmm. He admitted basically to treason.
Yes. He
is everything anti-American. Okay, everything about him is anti-American. It's so far off the charts of extremism in two different justice systems when you're arresting and incarcerating innocent people, sometimes for an entire lifetime with no recourse, but then people are blatantly committing treason and you're patting them on the back and giving them money and sending them off to a great job.
Yeah, but his skin isn't dark enough to hold him in prison forever. like we do with
right.
African Americans that have been arrested for a dime bag of marijuana,
Yeah.
and
Or
they're
Central
sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah, and Central Americans who are just coming and trying to not let their children get murdered, and they're sentenced and losing their kids, and then they're selling.
Oh, they're
them
not
to...
even sentenced. They're just.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. They're just thrown into those camps
thrown
forever.
Thrown into camps, separated from their children. Their children are put into the adoption system.
Yep. Then they get deported back home and never able to find them again, which is.
Mm-hmm. The pardon coming as Trump enters his last days as president, bookends his 4 years in office and his supporters' revisionist take on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Since January 2017, the Flynn case has been among the defining scandals and sagas of Trump's presidency and Attorney General William Barr's leadership of the Justice Department. Flynn's criminal charge had hung over the Trump presidency and shaded nearly every major scandal Trump faced because Flynn's lies to the FBI had occurred days into the new administration and were about his transition time contacts with Russia, which opened the door for warmer relations with a country that had just meddled in the U.S. presidential election. And by the way, they're not the only ones, because China meddles. Guess what? We meddle in other countries' elections too.
Yep. But we're not allowed to talk about that. We're only going to talk about this election fraud that he claims happened here, but we're not going to actually talk about where or what or when.
Yeah. The White House, in a statement following Trump's announcement, insisted on Flynn's innocence. This is a guy that pled guilty twice.
Yep.
Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said in part, quote, "The president has pardoned General Flynn because he should never have been prosecuted," end of quote.
Treason should be okay.
I've got words that I'd like to say about Kayleigh McEnany that I cannot say on FCC-regulated airwaves, so
it's not even necessary. It's not even necessary. I feel like she's the unqualified person that they put at the top of the public school system so that they can be like, see, public schools don't work.
Yeah, exactly. Good Lord. McEnany wrote that the pardon brings, quote, "to an end the relentless partisan pursuit of an innocent man," end of quote. The White House did not provide any evidence of Flynn's innocence in the statement. Of course, because they don't need to. They just say it.
Because he's not innocent. He pleaded guilty.
Twice.
He confessed.
Twice. Like we said just a few minutes ago, if you repeat a lie often enough and loud enough, it is accepted as truth.
Bingo.
Oh,
he literally just made treason legal. That's what he did. He just made it completely okay. Just for his friends, not for anybody else.
Well, now the question is, who's going to be next? Who's Trump going to pardon next?
I think if we think about his ultimate goal, which is just to incite those millions of racist voters, we're going to start to find out. It's going to be the most ideological, skewed, extreme, diabolical, racist people that you can find. And I think it's going to be people with a voice, probably people that have active social media accounts, people that can really get those followers riled up. That's what I see happening.
I was just thinking, do you think he'll issue a pardon to Cohen? Because they don't get along anymore.
I am saying they're probably in negotiations right now.
Oh,
everybody.
probably.
Because, and it's like, what can you do for me? Because that's what it is. He is real. Look how quick he threw that one of his lawyers under the bus. After she got up there,
the lawyer that was with Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, the one that he fired, and it was
God.
like, and that was like, she was never on my legal team, and I was just like,
yeah, she was.
But again, remember what happened to the brown shirts, right? Like,
yeah.
like y'all thought everything was good, and you were doing his bidding because he was going to take care of you, and then he stabbed you in the back, literally. Time is coming, guys.
Yes, it is. Oh God, and we may as well just go ahead and get on to the next portion of this. The two different justice systems in this country.
Why are there so many stories to reflect this?
This is something you really have wanted to talk about, and that is the surge of coronavirus in the prison system, not just in Michigan. It's happening everywhere, folks.
Every state, all the prisons, private prisons, not private prisons, county jails, everywhere where there's a correctional facility and inmates, there are COVID spikes right now.
Yeah.
And everybody is having a hard time reaching loved ones. It's really excruciating to read their accounts of like what's happening during phone calls and finding out they're sick, and then they can't even get removed from the cell with somebody who's not sick. So now they're spreading it that way because there's not enough room to house these people separately. From what I'm reading, even in Michigan, There are a lot of people in jail right now waiting on things like court dates and classes, and then they would be out and done. But COVID has stalled all these processes. So they're just stuck, and they're being exposed to this and risking dying, which is going to come down even if you don't care about these people, even if you don't see them as humans. You're going to be paying for it when they're sick. It's coming out of your tax money. Like, even if it's just a financial thing, why would we do this? Why would we just let people spread it and die when we could just let them out? Like,
because we don't care about the incarcerated.
No. And the people with the power are the people that care about the extra $5 on that bottom line of those private prisons.
It's more than just $5.
Right, right. But if you're talking about per inmate, when you think about the amount of money that they're letting them die over what they're making per person, it's so sick. Like, they'd still be making money. That's the hardest part to accept for me. They'd still be making a profit. And they've got everything they need. But they just financially and mathematically, they make so much more money letting these people die. And if we just let it happen, if nobody sees it, and if we don't actually share these articles because we're more focused on the million other articles that are coming out, they die alone and nobody notices.
Yeah. The one phrase that I really hate hearing, I'm sorry, I'm going to pull a G. Gordon Liddy on everybody today.
I know where this is going.
Correctional facility. Because as Gordon Liddy used to say on his national radio show years ago, who are they correcting?
Nobody.
It's a jail. It's a prison. That's what it is.
Oh, and
it's not a correctional facility.
Since we have started them, we have done over and over and over. We have done increased funding. We have tried to do rehabilitation. We have tried all of these different programs, right? The recidivism rate has maintained steady since we started maintaining prisons. 67%. 2/3 of people arrested will be rearrested again within 5 years. That's it. So the second you arrest them, you are setting them on a lifelong trajectory. Nothing we've done in the last 50 years, 80 years has changed that.
No, because we haven't changed the methods.
Right.
We're doing the same thing over and over.
We're putting them into something and calling it a correctional facility. Like, we have to actually put them places and help correct them.
But we have examples here. I'm just reading headlines off of a quick little Google search that I did. In Hamilton, Ohio, Butler and Claremont jails have suspended transferring inmates because there's an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 cases. Raleigh, North Carolina, prisons suspending and consolidating some operations amid a surge of COVID-19. Next headline, COVID-19's fall surge hitting Pennsylvania prisons too. Skip a little bit. Chicago, Cook County's incarcerated, hitting a COVID surge. Major COVID outbreak reported at prison in downtown Los Angeles. That's Forbes magazine. WXYZ TV, Detroit, state transferring 120 COVID inmates to Macomb Corrections because they're hitting a surge. Denver Post, COVID-19 cases surge inside Colorado's juvenile prisons.
Kids, you guys. These are kids.
WHYY Radio, coronavirus spreads inside more Delaware prisons. That's just one page.
I can't imagine being a parent, okay, with a child in the juvenile correctional facility right now, which has a COVID spike. Like, I just can't.
Yeah. The thing is, what do? How do you get through to these people to say, look, this is a problem. You need to fix the problem right now before you start losing more inmates. Because, you know, everybody says, oh, well, they shouldn't have been in there. They shouldn't have done the crime in the first place. But you know what?
It's not a death sentence. It was not supposed to be a death sentence.
Exactly. It's somebody's family. It's somebody's brother. It's somebody's sister. It's somebody's son.
If they deserved a death sentence, they would have been given one by the judge.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. If they weren't, then we don't have a right to convict them to death. We don't have a right to risk their lives like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just torture for these men and women in the prison system. I've seen stories the last couple of days that are so heartbreaking because it's their family members, it's their sisters, their wives, their moms, their kids, right? That they're on the phone with or that they're not on the phone with that are trying to get a hold of them and they know the numbers are spiking and they haven't heard from them in days. Mm-hmm. And if they can get through, I've heard in at least a few of the Michigan prisons right now, they've got a few correction officers manning the phones that won't even let them talk. Like, they're getting a minute into phone calls and having a CO come by and going, time's up. And if they argue, they go to the hole. Like, it's the day before Thanksgiving. You finally get to talk to your sibling, right? And for 1 minute, all you get to hear is them just being treated like they're not even human. And then all you know is they're being stuffed into a room alone for God knows how long. That is torture to innocent people outside. They didn't do anything. To just keep treating people like this and letting this kind of inhumanity happen while we everybody else off for such horrific crimes, if they have money and power, is lunacy. And it's exponentially happening quicker to the point where we're all going to be suffering so bad we're not going to know where to start to help each other.
Yeah, and helping each other involves having some compassion.
It does. You know what's been really interesting to me is the person that started this Michigan Department of Corrections group and is very adamant about getting the word out about what's happening right now with COVID has a Trump banner on her profile picture.
Wow, that's a shock.
It is. But that also is a huge illustration to me of how many people we have so much in common with. That if we were to come at them from different angles and try to see what we have in common, you know, we might be able to actually have somewhere to start or work from. Because again, it's not us against each other, as easy as it is to see it that way. And as much as we want to hold each other accountable for the power that we're not using, we're in it together. We're screwed with those people, and if any supply chain or infrastructure breaks down, we're all dependent on each other.
We saw that at the beginning of the coronavirus surge.
Yep.
In March, stores running out of paper towel, toilet paper, running out of Clorox wipes. Hell, I still haven't been able to find Lysol disinfectant spray in well over a month.
Oh, I've got you. We'll go right after this. It's right up the street.
Oh, okay.
I've got the secret spot.
Well, here's the thing. We've been talking about compassion. We might as well just get right into this next story here. This is Nick Penson-Stadler and Josh Salmon writing for USA Today. This is dated November 20th. This is an investigation piece, by the way, folks. Cash-strapped renters nationwide say their landlords tried to skirt COVID-19 eviction moratoriums by changing locks, removing trash containers so waste piled up, and in one case, attempting to unbolt the front door right off an apartment. They told state attorneys general that they were kicked out of their homes after landlords accused them of violating tenant rules like smoking cigarettes inside their units or failing to take the hitches off of their mobile homes. Like Heidi Stack, who lost her job due to the pandemic and fell behind on rent, they assumed they were protected. But Stack said her landlord found an end run to Wisconsin's eviction ban. Instead of starting a court process, he sent her a notice to vacate this summer because he was not renewing her lease. That type of informal or extrajudicial eviction is a workaround to the patchwork of emergency state and federal rules created this year to prevent landlords from ejecting tenants into unstable or crowded living arrangements during the health emergency.
Unstable and unhealthy living arrangements due to... They understand we were dealing with that before COVID, right? Those are the only choices we have out here because we can't afford anything else. They've got us searching for rooms to rent for $600 a month where we have to share a house with 5 complete strangers. That's not healthy or stable.
No.
Okay.
Not at
Go
all.
Ahead.
What once was a fringe concern has become a quiet scourge across the nation, said Eric Dunn, director of litigation at the National Housing Law Project, feeding housing instability concerns among the millions who have missed rent payments. Dunn said, quote, "Since the pandemic started and courts froze their dockets or had moratoriums, we've seen a huge spike in tactics from landlords to get people out, including changing locks, cutting off utility service, refusing to make repairs, making threats, providing misinformation, and any other creative way to accuse someone of a lease violation that fits an exception in the moratorium." End of quote.
So I got 2 things here that I got to say. Number one, It's a very big loophole. And even in Michigan's moratorium, it was always understood that they couldn't kick you out for not paying. But that doesn't change any of the other reasons they can kick you out. They can say they smelled marijuana. They can say this. They can say whatever they want and write up a complaint. And it's like a job. In Michigan, it's an at-will employment state. So, you know, as long as there were like 2 things you ever did wrong the whole time you worked there, they can terminate you. They don't necessarily need any other cause. So if they want you gone and you're not paying the rent, they don't have to kick you out for that. They can make something up. They can say they smelled something. They can, you know, and so there's really no way to keep yourself safe from that happening.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that this is why we need to pay attention to where public housing funds are going. Okay? Because our public housing system was set up in a way originally that it gave funds and vouchers to families. Now they're changing that, and they're transferring a lot of these funds and vouchers to where they're staying with development projects. They're staying with buildings. So if they build a big condo unit and it's supposed to be affordable housing and they call it that, then the vouchers would stay with them. But that also means the same thing applies. They can't kick you out for being black or pregnant or old, but if they don't want you there because you're black, pregnant, or old, they can make up 3 other things that maybe you did wrong and you're gone, and you didn't just lose your house, you lost your public housing funds. Exactly. So I had to bring that up now because most people don't see that happening, and it's one of the biggest ways they discriminate now and get rid of anybody they don't want in their buildings.
Yeah. They can find a myriad of things.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. They do it on purpose. It's a strategic loophole left open by governors and attorney generals who write these orders because they need campaign funds.
Yep. Tricks and intimidation behind the scenes add to more overt efforts by landlords to legally evict tenants. With statewide bans largely expired and federal protection from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention moratorium nearing its final days, tenant advocates like Dunn fear things will only get worse. USA Today reviewed hundreds of complaints about landlords filed through the summer by consumers with attorneys general in 7 states, including Maryland, Missouri, Ohio, Washington State, and Wisconsin. Landlords, they told the state agencies, hiked rents even as the tenants lost their jobs and missed utility bill payments. They skipped out on basic maintenance and let conditions deteriorate, leaving renters a choice between leaving on their own or living with mold outbreaks or infestations of bed bugs, roaches, and maggots. While the complaints offer a window into the problem, tenants often found their efforts to enlist state help went nowhere since wrongful evictions typically must be fought in court. And the courts are shut down their dockets.
Okay, so I can't believe I haven't done this sooner, but it's a source of shame for me because it's my own personal life. But I want to tell you about how my landlord personally handled COVID shutdown.
Please.
Okay, so back in March, I got fired from my job 2 days before the executive order. I got fired because I went into the work employee app and I said, listen, we've had some positive cases of COVID down the street. We haven't cleaned the restaurant. There's a good chance we've all been exposed to it, knowing it's so close.
Yep.
We're not wearing masks or doing anything different than we were before. I'm really concerned about the safety of the rest of the employees, myself, and our guests. And I just think maybe we should do something to address it. They never responded. They fired me and said that it was unprofessional. That apparently they were doing all these things that we just didn't know about yet. So anyways, I got fired and I didn't know at that point what I was going to do. I had about $800 in the bank. I didn't know when I was going to be able to make more money because everything was shut down 2 days later. So I couldn't go out and get another job. And my landlord's like, so what's going on with the rent, right? And so it was like April 3rd. It was 2 days late. I still didn't know what to say to him because I'm like, I don't know if restaurants are going to open. I don't know if I'm going to have money to feed my kids. All I was worried about was having enough money to feed my kids until I could get another job. So I got like $800 in the bank. I don't know if it's going to be 3 months. That would be enough, but I don't want to give him all of it if not. So
exactly.
So that's where I'm at. And so he says to me, rent? ? That's it. And I said, hi, Kev. And mind you, this is 2 weeks into a global pandemic. Everybody's terrified. Said, hi, Kev. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you yesterday. I was expecting to be able to pay or at least have more information for you today regarding this month's rent. I lost my job on the 13th due to the pandemic and applied for unemployment shortly after. I'm still waiting for a determination. It just says in progress. I've been trying all week, but have been unable to reach them over the phone or internet chat to get more information. Please let me know if you'll be attaching late fees. I will keep trying when they open on Monday and get back to you as soon as I know more. Thanks for your time and understanding. Katie.
Yeah.
Please next time let me know in advance. Can you pay anything now? Did the restaurant close? Are you working less time or are you completely off? I know people have been having issues with the website, but not 17 days later. Please keep me.
Yes, they have.
Here we are 7 months later.
Months.
Some people have not gotten $1. It gets worse. Listen.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, he was asking me all these specific questions because he clearly had stalked my Facebook and knew what had happened. Okay. Yeah. And he was angry because he didn't think I had a right to leave my job to not risk my own life because he needed his money. Right.
Of course.
So I can sense all this and I'm pissed because I've been nothing but polite to him. And I know I've got the rent money that I could give him, but I'm also going to make sure I can feed my kids first. And there's nothing he could say to make me think that's the wrong decision. Mm-hmm. So he said, I know people have been having issues with the website, but not 17 days later. Please keep me updated. Too much information right now is better. Mm. Oh, and no late fees for now.
Oh.
I said, I'm doing everything.
How magnanimous.
I know. I said, I'm doing everything I can to borrow money and get more info on what is going on with unemployment. I will be able to Venmo you something tomorrow, but can't confirm an amount until it's in my hands. I've sent messages to UIA, called hundreds of times to get connected once. Scheduled a call back, they never called back. And this is me explaining myself way more than I should have or would have, but this is who I am because I'm accountable.
But you need to.
I'm accountable for myself and what I wanted to pay him. Yeah. I said I've sent messages to UIA, called hundreds of times to get connected once, scheduled a call back, they never called back. Tried for hours to chat online. I will text you to let you know if I've heard from them tomorrow, and if I can't reach them, I will let you know what's going on as soon as I do know. Thanks again. I really appreciate you waiving late fees for now. Mm-hmm. I am not mad that you can't pay right now. I am disappointed you didn't talk to me sooner. It was April 3rd when we talked. Middle of the global pandemic.
In the middle of a freaking pandemic. Unbelievable.
Listen, I had to lay off my employee off a week. I had to lay my employee off a week after you were laid off, and he will be reporting his hours this week and getting paid unemployment this week. Since we own 3 small businesses, we are getting hit hard. Please keep me updated on this.
At least he owns 3 businesses. You own how many businesses?
And that was his way of saying, I'm not just a landlord. His 3 businesses are 3 homes he rents out. Come on, dude.
Oh, whoopee.
I said I certified on Tuesday. Message said I'll get it the next day. Expected to have it. I go off and explain to him exactly. And then I keep telling him for 2 days that I can't get through. And then he finally texts me a week later when I'm still trying to get through and says, did you get it sorted out? My employee is starting to get the additional federal benefits. Literally, jeez. I was like, what? Why do you keep telling me like your employee did this, so I should have? I know. I was the one sitting here worried. Anyways, landlords are unreasonable, and they're profiting off of human rights. So yes, I really should have stood up for myself more there. But
yeah. But when you're scared, what do you do?
And they're shamed. And that's the thing. They use your shame and your sense of accountability against you, which is really ultimately messed up.
And it kind of makes me wonder if landlords are taught this, you know.
I mean.
Really? I'm dead serious.
The level of shame he imposes. I've seen him. This guy has sent like group texts to the whole house and screamed at us.
Because I know that there's landlord groups out there. I know there are.
Oh, yeah.
I know landlords.
Unions, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let me continue the story from USA Today. From elderly residents on Social Security to single mothers struggling with unemployment, some reported that they were pushed into homelessness where they could not take basic steps to prevent themselves from the virus. That threat was a driving force behind the moratoriums, and a group of epidemiologists found this month that the measures have helped stem COVID-19 spread, particularly in poorer neighborhoods where court-ordered eviction is more prevalent. Stack, the mother of a 15-year-old daughter with disabilities, came up short in April on her $850 rent. Her lease was up, but she assumed she could renew it. Instead, she came home to the notice to vacate. She said, quote, "It was devastating. I was confused and crying and felt like I was having a panic attack. I lost my job, and now I had to basically beg someone to let us live somewhere else instead of a homeless shelter." End of quote. Stack complained to Wisconsin's Consumers Protection Agency, which intervened as a mediator but did not manage to resolve the dispute. Eventually, she located a new apartment, but it's more expensive and in a different neighborhood of La Crosse, requiring her to transfer her daughter to another school district.
I guess I'm confused as to why they're evicting people at the ends of their leases. Like, can you think of why they would be doing that? Because it's not like these people aren't paying. Oh, are they people that aren't paying because of the moratorium, and so they're just deciding not to renew the lease?
Yes, they decide, the lease is up, okay. Well,
got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding a place to live came with the added challenges because Stack has a criminal record tied to past drug use.
Yep. Anything, though. A protesting charge. You can't get an apartment now.
Yep. But armed with a new job at a cheese manufacturer, she was able to get a lease with an additional rider that says she will be evicted if she has a drug relapse.
Wow.
Unbelievable, folks.
That's what I love about, we have a program here in Grand Rapids, Well House.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically, it started with one home, and the arrangement is homeless people can live there, but they have to agree to do maintenance, gardening, all kinds of stuff for the home.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing stipulation is they don't judge them or shame them in their addiction. They don't tell them you can't have a drink. They don't tell them, they let them be humans and make those decisions.
Yes. Stacks said, quote, "In the middle of this, it's a lot to pay for rent plus a new security deposit on such short notice while everyone is freaking out about the pandemic." End of quote. Her previous landlord at Reliant Real Estate Services said he couldn't discuss specific tenants, but he said none had faced non-renewals or eviction proceedings since late spring. He added that those with looming lease expirations can negotiate move-out dates or month-to-month extensions. Reliant President Aaron Wicksberg wrote in an email, quote, "Evictions and lease non-renewals are never a desired outcome. We will continue to do whatever we can to help keep our tenants in their homes." End of quote.
So they can't discuss individual tenants, but we can discuss individual landlords, so they should do themselves well to remember that.
Exactly. Eviction moratoriums under the Federal CARES Act expired on July 25th. Let me add, by the way, that an additional CARES Act package is sitting in the Senate. It passed the House, but Mitch McConnell refuses to do a goddamn thing about it because he is a frickin' violent conservative. Period. End of story. So make sure you call Mitch McConnell's office when they get back from their Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, because they all get a nice little break when they don't have time to make sure that people can, survive.
Kind of like the Michigan legislature that's currently on their deer hunting season break and refusing to address anything involving COVID.
Mm-hmm. We all know deer camp is not really deer hunting, right?
It's drinking beer and acting stupid.
And hanging out with strange women from the north. Let's be honest. Check his gun case, wives. Check his gun case.
I wasn't going to go there, but yeah. Many state bans also ended over the summer or in the fall. The remaining CDC order enacted September 4th has a simple goal: prevent evictions for non-payment of rent during the pandemic. But the CDC's rules are full of exemptions and tricky legal definitions, leaving openings for unscrupulous landlords. The current CDC order, set to expire December 31st, specifies that evictions for non-payment of rent can be prevented if renters fill out a form declaring that they make less than $99,000, are trying to make partial payments, and would likely be homeless if evicted. Rent still accrues and is eventually due. The CDC order comes with criminal penalties, but neither the agency nor the U.S. Department of Justice answered questions on whether a single landlord has been prosecuted. That's because I can tell you that the answer is no.
And why? Because most of our property management companies are now actually run by people that are very well connected to law enforcement, which is how they're manipulating elections. Again, I'm going to say it again.
And I can tell you that landlords and rental agencies also have lobbyists in Washington to do their bidding for them.
Those are the two biggest lobbyists. The first people sending me letters when I ran for office were the renters and the landowners and the there's a really well-known group, realists,
like a homeowners association.
There's two or three of them that are really well-known and send out questionnaires to every candidate.
Wow.
And definitely always back the establishment candidates who end up, opening construction companies after they're elected.
Oh, of course.
Monica Sparks.
Oh, boy. The order also offers 5 other reasons evictions can move forward: criminal activity, threats to other residents, damage to property, violation of building codes, or violation of any other aspect of a lease.
So they can write in what they want and then allege that you violated it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a proof thing. It's a word thing.
Yep. Dunn said landlords can find subtle ways to use those exemptions to evict a non-paying renter, saying when adding a satellite dish turns out to be a lease violation, or when a boyfriend stays over more nights than allowed in the guest portion of the lease. Non-renewals of leases that lead to eviction are a gray area in the CDC order. Andrew Arend, Vice President for Research at the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, said, quote,
Hold on, I'm sorry. There's a National Low-Income Housing Coalition?
I was just going to mention that.
Oh, I'm going to be hanging out with them for a minute. We're going to talk about what they've been not doing.
Yeah. Arend said, quote, if a landlord truly wants to evict someone, you know they can find a reason, end of quote. Yeah, he's right about that.
Again, strategically, it is written in to give them those reasons and those outs.
Arend and others have lobbied on Capitol Hill for a federal rent assistance program as part of a pandemic relief bill.
You mean like public housing?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Tenant groups favor such programs, which would cost as much as $100 billion over extended eviction moratoriums. Arend said, quote, the real concern is what happens in January if we don't find a rental solution and the 30 to 40 million people that, again, will be at risk for eviction, end of quote.
I don't mean to, shock anybody here, but that is the plan. Mm-hmm. That is the plan, is for those millions of people to be out on the street. That's it.
Yep. Because the property owners want property.
Yeah, and they've used all of our public housing funds. And when I say that, I'm talking everything, Section 8, HUD, all the public housing programs that Ben Carson right now is in charge of. They're shifting them to developers. And if they weren't, we wouldn't have such a desperate need for housing right now. Mm-hmm. It is so disgusting. And we're so stupid. We are so stupid that we keep listening to these buzzwords and act like this national coalition for low-income housing is doing anything aside from trying to keep property values up. That's what they're doing.
I'm skipping down a little bit into this article here. Attorneys in Massachusetts challenged Governor Charlie Baker's blanket moratorium on evictions this summer, arguing it was overly broad and unconstitutional, according to real estate attorney Richard Vetstein. Quote, the state ban was the strictest by far. Unlike the CDC moratorium, it applied to every eviction case, including lease expirations, most behavioral issues, for-cause evictions, and squatting, end of quote.
Governor
Beautiful.
Charlie Baker, they said, huh?
And I believe...
Way to go, Charlie Baker.
I'm going to have to look it up. I'm almost certain that Charlie Baker is a Republican.
Nice. Yeah, he definitely did not make any friends with this decision, but good for him. Whoa.
Oh, he's a Republican.
Wow.
Can you believe that? A Republican actually standing up for people.
What state? He's in Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
Oh, that's interesting. Really interesting. He definitely did. He lost some friends with that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. I'm going to stop this story because we're starting to get a little low on time here, and I want to hit two stories real quick. The first one I want to hit is our Hammer Time segment, but in order to do that, we need to play the appropriate music.
Stop! Hammer Time!
Oh, yeah, it's Hammer Time. It is time to drop the hammer on the douchebag of the week. In this case, maybe the drumstick. And we've got two of them. Whenever we have more than two, we got to play this too.
Double douche. Who is that guy? Gentlemen? Wade Garrett. Holy sh**.
Exactly right.
Exactly right. Wade Garrett. This is from CBS Chicago. This is Jermont Terry writing on November 20th. Our two winners this week, Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, and actor Ricky Schroeder. Yes, the child actor from Silver Spoons, folks.
That's a perfect.
It is.
Perfect analogy for the whole situation. I love that he was on Silver Spoons because this is what happens. This is what happens.
Accused Kenosha gunman Kyle Rittenhouse walked out of jail last week Friday on a $2 million bond. He was seen hours later in a photo flanked by his lawyer and actor Ricky Schroeder, who helped get the teen out of jail. Antioch, Illinois is where Rittenhouse's last known address was listed, and while he was released Friday, it is unclear if he is allowed to cross back into Illinois because the courts have not yet electronically updated the terms of his release. Rittenhouse was in jail for nearly 3 months before he was freed on bond. The 17-year-old is accused of driving from Antioch, crossing over into Kenosha, Wisconsin, with a loaded gun and killing two people at a protest over the shooting that happened earlier in Kenosha. A judge granted Rittenhouse $2 million cash bond, a bond the father of one victim felt was still too low.
It is. It's way too low.
John Hubert, whose son was killed in Kenosha, said, quote, he has people out there who will help him, organizations, militia groups raising money for his defense right now, end of quote. It turns out conservative groups such as FightBackLaw.com helped out. More than $500,000 was raised through a legal defense fund for Rittenhouse. Most of the money came from small donations. Rittenhouse's attorney took to Twitter thanking donors and saying, quote, we the people did not let him down, end of quote. Celebrities joined in too. Rittenhouse was seen with Schroeder and his attorney hours after paying the cash to get free. Money was also raised by businessman Mike Lindell, the inventor of the My Pillow, and a big fucking Trump supporter.
Well, and we got real clear issues here when judges are issuing any bond amounts in a high-profile case like this. There is no amount they can't reach. To act like there is a reasonable amount of bail, I guess, in this stage of capitalism, it's such ludicrousy to even say reasonable amount of bail. Mm-hmm. Because to make it somebody's release based on money with this kind of there's nothing reasonable about it. Nothing just about it, right? It's just basically classism. But to literally let out a murderer, and it wasn't a mass murder, but it was a multiple murderer, and I know he was only accused, but we've seen the videos. Mm-hmm. We've seen the videos.
Exactly.
It's on tape.
Yep.
He shouldn't have access to the outside world. He shouldn't have it.
And that's what the relatives of his two victims have said.
Oh.
Hubert added, quote, he thinks he's above the law. He's been treated as such by law enforcement. Mm-hmm. He believes he's justified in the case, and for him to run wouldn't surprise me, end of quote.
That means if he's justified and he's backed up by law enforcement, that means he is being empowered to do this again.
Exactly. So to child actor Ricky Schroeder and to Mike Lindell, the My Pillow asshole, we have this message for you.
Don't be a douchebag.
That's right. You need to stop being conservative, violent douchebags. All of you. Oh my God. That story sickened the hell out of me.
I hope he doesn't accidentally suffocate with his own pillow. That'd be horrible.
Oh God. Well, we want to get to one final story here. This is a story that we talked about a couple of years ago on this very show. We talked about Honestie Hodges. When she was 11 years old, the Grand Rapids police put her in handcuffs.
They were searching for a suspect who was not there at the time.
Exactly.
I don't know that she had any relation to the person they were looking for. She was just a little girl that was there, and she was black, and she was kind of tall, you know. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Grand Rapids police officer, you're really, really scared of black and brown people. And you know, if they're almost your height, I guess that's more scary. So you have to like lock them up and put handcuffs on them. But fortunately, this girl, her mom named her brilliantly.
Honestie.
Yes. And they ended up making a policy about arresting and not incarcerating, but arresting kids, handcuffing them and such. And they named it the Honestie policy.
Yes, absolutely they did. Yeah, this incident happened back in December of 2017. Honestie was handcuffed at gunpoint by officers and placed in a police cruiser as they searched for a suspect in an attempted murder. Hodges, her mother, and another relative were just leaving their Grand Rapids home when they encountered police looking for one of their relatives in a stabbing. So, yeah, they were looking for somebody else, and they just said, oh, we need to detain you because you might be violent.
And this was near the time that they had held a group of 12-year-old boys at gunpoint who were just walking home from a park.
Right over at the Croc Center.
They were just walking home from the park. These cops are so scared of black kids in our city. It's really, really pathetic.
Yes, and the reason we're talking about Honestie, she just celebrated her 14th birthday on November 9th. That was also the day that she was diagnosed with COVID-19, and Honestie passed away just in the last week. So our deepest sympathies go to the family of Honestie Hodges.
Yes, rest in peace, angel face.
Rest in power. And, man, she didn't even know that she had power.
So much of it.
Yes. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Katy Steele for Jack Prince.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.